Hi guys, this is like my fourth take on this. I got all the way to the end and then I messed up. Um, anyway, we're just gonna start from the beginning, from the top. Um, I decided to do this presentation in Microsoft Paint because I thought it would look nice for a timeline. It's kind of simple, but I like how it came out. Let's just get started. The first primate that I'm going to talk about is Ardipithecus ramidus. Most websites say that it existed from 5.8 to 4.4 million years ago. This species of hominid was bipedal or quadrupedal, but most likely quadrupedal. The skeleton seems to feature a divergent big toe, which is what apes used to use to grab onto objects and swing on trees and stuff. You can see that it had very protruding jawline, but a smaller brain case and some sharp teeth. These early hominids actually ate only like vegetarian foods and some sugary fruits, so like bananas and that stuff like that. They lived in Africa before it turned to a plain or a desert kind of place. It actually used to be a big jungle. Anyway, we're going to move on to Australopithecus anamensis. Africa. It was discovered in Ethiopia as well, but it has also been discovered in Kenya. Most sites agree that it existed around 4.2 and 3.9 million years ago, although these numbers always vary with every single one. And it was discovered by Brian Patterson of Harvard University in 1965. Unlike Ardipithecus ramidus, the males were much larger than the females, showing more dominance over resources and objects. And these early hominids as well also had jutting out jaws and pronounced brow lines and the like. They were also plant eaters with long arms, and these organisms were also probably bipedal, but were able to climb trees. Next we have Australopithecus afarensis, possibly the best known early human, lived around 4.4 and 2.8 million years ago. They lived in eastern Africa and survived an extremely long time, around 900,000 years. A discovery of the corpse named Lucy changed the way paleontologists looked at the vast species. The deemed Lucy species has similarities and differences to humans. They also had smaller teeth like ours, were mostly bipedal, but also had a long jutting out jaw and small brains. Species like the Lucy species are great discoveries because they fill in the timeline. And we will move on to Australopithecus garhi, or Gari, I don't know. And it was primarily discovered in Ethiopia, but is also found in other parts of Africa. It is not very well documented, and it is believed to have lived 2.6 to 2.5 million years ago, around that time. And its diet included mostly meats. It was maybe the first to do so. Australopithecus garhi is a species that started using stone tools as well. Garhi means surprise in the Afar language, and the species was definitely a surprise, having used both stone tools and having ate meat. We'll move on to Australopithecus africanus. All these names are hard to pronounce for me. Who was discovered in South Africa. As you can see in the image, Africanus's jaw is becoming shallower, but it's still quite pronounced. They were bipedal, mostly bipedal, but they may have been also adept in climbing. No stone tools were discovered amongst any of the corpses. It was not always a hunter though. Signs show from marks in bones and breaking up in the breakages in bones that they may have been hunted and eaten by other animals. Homo habilis, the first member of the genus Homo, because of their smaller teeth, smaller face, and slightly larger brain case. There is no solid evidence that the species used stone tools, and they lived around 2.3 to 2 million years ago, and were bipedal. Even though they had smaller teeth and jaws, both were still strong. They consumed leaves, seeds, and some meats. Homo rudolfensis was discovered or lived in East Africa and lived around 2.5 and 1.9 years ago. Human Origins, a Smithsonian website, says that the species used stone tools to cut up and process their food because of their smaller, less powerful jaws and jaw ligament. They seem to have a flatter face like modern humans with a larger brain capacity. The species was first discovered in 1986. Homo ergaster is next, and it lived around 1.9 to 1.4 million years ago. It was roaming East and South Africa. eFossils.org says that the species was limited to the continent of Africa. Homo ergaster featured a larger body size than previous hominids, and with its body, its brain case also grew. It was first discovered in 1971, and the distinct key feature is that it had a stronger brow line, much like other early hominids. Homo erectus lived in Africa, Asia, and Europe. And actually, Homo erectus means upright man. And it lived 1.89 to 143,000 years ago. It most likely lived alongside other species, and had also slightly protruding brow line, flatter jaw like ours. Homo erectus is known to have tall bodies and rather large brains. As you can see in the image, they probably use stone tools as well. Homo heidelbergensis is the next species in the lineup. It was discovered in Heidelberg, Germany, as you can probably tell by the name, Europe, in 1908. They also had a large brow line, smaller teeth than other hominid species before it, and existed 700,000 to 200,000 years ago. Like I said, numbers vary. They were adapted to colder climates, which would explain why they were believed to have lived where they were, in Europe and Asia, and back in Africa as well. Okay, almost done. The Neanderthals. Before I did this research, I thought it was pronounced Neanderthal, but of course it's pronounced Neanderthal. Wikipedia says that Neanderthal DNA is only different from modern human DNA by 0.12%, which is pretty impressive. They lived in Europe, southwestern to Central Asia, and these early humans were strong and cunning. They used many stone tools, and their bodies were adapted to a colder climate. They are believed to have lived 200,000 to only 40,000 years ago. And finally, Homo sapiens. We've existed for about 200,000 years. We have larger brains than any of our predecessors. We also have a lighter build than them. We have a less distinct brow line, which is almost non-existent. Short teeth with both grinding and cutting functions, which are much weaker than any of our earlier predecessors who had much bigger and stronger teeth and jaws with more enamel. And we went from using stone tools to using computers to connect with old friends from around the globe. We are indeed bipedal and have complex social skills, and well, I guess I could go on and on and on. I have some last little notes to put up at the end right here. So to summarize and conclude, according to the Harvard Gazette, human brain size increased and stomach size decreased as early humans started eating meat. Increased brain size could also have been caused by more complex social skills or language. Bipedalism in early humans may have occurred in places such as Ethiopia, as they lost their dense jungles and turned into plains with groups of trees every now and then. Hominins used to have long arms and forward slouching bodies with opposable big toes for grabbing onto branches. As the jungle environment dwindled away, hominids had to adapt to more upright and constant forms of walking so that they wouldn't be killed by predators because they couldn't run correctly on two legs. Another point that's been made is that these hominids would be holding weapons and tools, so they had to adapt to be able to run with them. Some vestigial structures, which are anatomical structures that are no longer useful to a organism, and are from a earlier form of that species, Some of these vestigial structures include fingernails, which, well, this is kind of my opinion, but fingernails, we don't really use them much, just to open up cans, but I think they used to be used for attacking, and sharpened claws would be good for that. And appendixes, or appendi, I'm not really sure what the plural is, were probably used to process raw meat. And the tailbone, which proves that we used to have tails. Of course, there are others, and there's actually a cool Wikipedia page about them. Thank you for listening to my long and drawn-out presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and have a nice day.